start this session. So this is a 2-hour session that runs from 2 to 4 p.m. And this is a session that's typically reserved for a guest speaker. So we're supposed to have a guest speaker today. That does not look like he's going to make it because I haven't heard from him. I messaged him a couple times. I messaged him yesterday, and he said everything was good. And I messaged him a couple more times today, and I haven't heard from him yet, and he's not on the session right now. So I'm just going to make the logical assumption here that he's probably not going to make it to the session. So I'm going to leave it up to you guys what we can do now. We can go ahead and go with next week's guest speaker because next week's guest speaker is actually me. So next week I'm scheduled to be the guest speaker, and I am talking particularly about this right here. I'm talking about outsourcing, which is a pretty cool concept. It's something that's made me a lot of money. So we can either jump that up to schedule and switch with Rocky. We can do next week. And let me just mute all you guys real quick.
My earphones in.
So sorry about that. So we can either do that. We can do next week's session, and I'll just go ahead and do my guest speaker about outsourcing. Or we can open it up and do Q&A, or we can kind of jump ahead of and the classes that we're going to do for the other sessions, and I'll just be a couple sessions ahead. So I'm going to let you guys tell me what you want to do and why I'll wait for your guys' input. I'm going to go in and actually create the link for this actual session. So I see a couple of you guys are wanting to do outsourcing. So if you don't want to do outsourcing, then this would be the time to open your mouth or use your fingers and let me know about that. And while you're doing that, I just need to grab this post real quick. All right. So there's that guy, and I'm just going to make a ref tool real quick for that guy. Hopefully you can see by now this is pretty easy. So hopefully you guys are getting much better at this, and it's becoming really, really easy for you to do these things. So let's save that widget. So here's this for you guys. Don't click that yet because what I need to actually do, I didn't give it to you yet, so you can't click it yet. What I need to actually do is come over here and create a comment growth tool for this bot, which is going to be a comment growth tool. This one's going to be called free gift 4.3 session. So let's select the post. It's going to be this post right here. Thanks for attending the 3rd session. So it's going to be that guy. All right. So now that's going to be that guy. Going to go ahead and save this guy and edit him real quick. So now that free gift that I'm going to give you is actually going to be this guy. Like I said, we created this poll in the last training session, so I'm going to give you this poll. So that is in bot funnels. It's this poll right here. And I'm going to share that. I'm going to allow you to clone that right to your bot. So let's just put that guy in there. So publish that. Make sure we turn that on active. And then let's go to this post right here. The one that you should comment on to get this free gift and make sure that this works. So let's make sure that actually works. So there's my free gift. So there's my free gift. So the only other thing that guy's done, so the only other thing I need to do is actually give you guys this ref link here. So there's that ref link where you can go ahead and, as you can see from just looking at this flow, what's going to happen to you is not a lot. I mean, you're not going to die if you click that link. You're not going to get a virus. Trust me on that. All that's going to happen if you click that link is you're going to be given a tag that you attended this 4-3 session, and then you're going to be delivered this message that just lets you know that you attended session 3. And to go comment on that post, it's going to give you a link to hopefully the correct post. Really hope so. Yep, it's going to give you a link to the correct post and then tell you you're going to get that free gift. So you can go in and do that. You can just click on that link that I gave you. I did change it just now. I think, Deonta, that's you, right? This owner. So I think that's you. So I did change it just now because I realized that by looking at it. So I updated that. You're going to get that. And then you can go comment on that post right there. Give your real feedback. You can go ahead and wait until the end if you want. You can do it right now, but if you want, go ahead and wait till the end. I'll remind you then, and you can comment on it then. So as far as the bot, I think that's pretty much everything I need to do right now in the bot, and we can kind of just go in and let me answer your question real quick, and then we'll do outsourcing. So Colin, you said, could you quickly go over how you did conditional logic for greater than, equal to, or less than equal to in demo quiz flow? I am only able to select the equal to option. So what you're talking about is you're talking about, and this bot funnels this demo quiz, you're talking about how, I'm assuming you're talking about this conditional block right here. That's what I think you're talking about. Just let me know if I'm correct. You're talking about this conditional block right here. Whenever a user puts in the question that they want to, the question that they want to change, correct? Exactly. That's what you're talking about?
That's the one.
Okay, so let me just change my speakers here because that's coming around from the wrong thing. So I'm assuming your issue is here. I'm checking demo quiz step. So what I'm assuming your issue is if you come in here to settings and you go to custom fields, if I look at that guy, demo quiz step, I can see that he's a number variable. So my initial assumption is going to be, if you go look at your custom field and you look at the custom field that you are checking here, then if you look over here at that custom field, I'm assuming you're going to find a text option. This is demo poll option. So if I come here and add an element condition and I want to put a check on, what was that? That was demo poll option. If I want to put a step on demo poll option, you will see I don't have those values. I don't have greater than or less than because it is not a number. It is a text. So although you could technically apply a greater than, equal to, or less than equal to operator on a string value, which is what a text is, it's a string value. But technically how that would work is all of the characters in your string would be converted to an ASCII number. So they would actually be converted to the decimal representation of the ASCII code for that character. And then the whole series of those things would be summed up. And then you would get a value, a numeric value there. So basically what that means is if you had a 3-letter word, God, G-O-D, you would get back a value that is the ASCII value of G plus the ASCII value of O plus the ASCII value of D. Those things would be summed up together, and then you would get a numeric value for that string, for that text value. And in programming, you can apply those operators to strings or characters. You can do a greater than or less than, and it just basically resolves the character or the string to that ASCII value or the summation of those ASCII values, and then you can check. But those things don't really make a whole lot of sense to apply that type of operator. It is possible, but it doesn't make sense to say, is God less than dog, right? Because if we were to sum up God and dog, we would see that those ASCII values would be exactly the same. So those would be equal because it's God plus DOG, the same letters. So that's what your issue is, right, Colin, is you're just using a text object and not a number object. As soon as you use a number object, you will get those options that it's greater than equal to, less than equal to if you use a numeric option. So that's all your issue was. You're using the wrong type of custom input. So that answers that question. Greg, you said, I have a winery that uses Groupon. I told them that we could do the same with the bot and save a lot of money. So is that possible? So my first suggestion, and I don't want you to take offense to this, Greg, but my first suggestion would be never tell a client something is possible if you don't know if that's actually possible, because that could affect your client relationship. So if you're going to tell your clients that something is possible, you should first make sure that it's actually possible. Now, to answer your question on is it possible or not, we would need more information on what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So if you're trying to accomplish a Groupon type of philosophy, so in Groupon, essentially what happens in Groupon is some establishment will give Groupon an offer only for Groupon offers, and it's a discounted offer, correct? That's what you're talking about. You're wanting to just give some discount on a product or service inside the bot. Well, sure, you could do that. I mean, you could definitely give a discount. You could use the bot to give a coupon code. So if you have some website or some place that you're selling your products, you could go in and give a coupon code through the bot. That's something that you could do. If you want to collect X amount of users, and once you get 50 users, you want to offer a discount, that's something that you could also do in the bot through several different ways. So you need a little bit more information, Greg.
Yeah, hi, John.
Hey,
yeah, they sell, the wine tasting tours.
Okay.
And the reason I suggested that it was possible was because what I saw, what you did, just selling your bot services with the tier 5, is it?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Of doing it all inside there. So what I was thinking of doing was doing a Facebook post, obviously, doing a contest where you win a VIP tasting, and then giving everybody that enters that a deal on a wine tasting for 2 or 4. So have 2 different options, or just one option even. Typically what they do right now on Groupon is they do a tasting for 2, and it's discounted from $140 to $61. And then of course they got to give half of that to Groupon, right? They don't see that whole $61. So I'm like, that's a huge savings. And they had 290 people buy it on Groupon. So,
how do they do the transaction if they get off? Because right now on Groupon, the transaction is being done through Groupon, right? The user's paying through the Groupon website. If they move off Groupon, how are they going to collect the money, and how are they going to do the payments?
Well, that's what I was looking at, using your tier thing. I forget what it was actually called. Your tier, is it tier 5?
That's my company's. That's my company's name. The software that we built for collecting money is called Invoicing You. So
that's it. Yeah, that's what. Sorry. Yeah, Invoicing You. I saw one you had done before, Invoicing You. So if we could set it up so that everybody that entered the contest, and say, hey, boom, thanks for entering the contest. Here's an offer for you. Would you like to get a wine tasting for 2 for $61, save, 56% or save 70 bucks, save 50% off, and then give them a link to buy now using your invoicing you, because you can do that over and over again, right?
Right, right. So we
That's the
could do
problem.
that. We could do that in Invoicing You. We could do that with PayPal as well. So we could do it either with the Invoicing You platform. We could also do it with PayPal. So yeah, we could do something really with Invoicing You now. There's actually we just built in something just kind of like Groupon and Invoicing You, where we built in this concept of a group invoice. So in invoice, and I can just preview that for you and kind of show you what I'm talking about. That you can come in and create this group invoice now, and in this group invoice, for example, you could do wine for two, and you could give, do you want to do percentage or you want to do dollar discounts, and then you could just say, hey, if I get 10 people to sign up, I'm gonna give a 10% discount. If I get 50 people who sign up, I'm gonna give a 20% discount. If I get 100% or 100 people who sign up, then I'm going to give, let's say, a 50% discount or whatever. And then you just do your wine for two, give your amount, whatever it was. Let's say it's $100. So now if you get 10 people sign up, they're only going to pay 90. If you get 50 people sign up, they're only going to pay 80. If you get 100 people sign up, they're only going to pay 50. So now you can set when this offer ends at, so you can put it on like a clock. When is this offer going to end? And then anybody who goes in and pays this thing, they're going to basically get their charge at the time that they click the buy button. They're going to go in and get their card pre-authorized for. I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about here. Here's one that's already created. So they're going to go to some invoice like this that shows them that they have a current price of $100 and it's going to drop down to $90 at 10 orders, or drop down to $80 at 20, or $70 at 30. And they can see that the price drops to 90 after 10 orders. They can see from this graph, nobody's paid yet. And the number of people that have paid are 0. So if they go in and actually buy, once they actually make this payment, what's going to happen is their card will be pre-authorized for whatever the current price is. And then once this timer runs out, then we'll actually do the capture. We'll capture that transaction and we'll capture whatever the new current price is. So they'll get pre-authorized for whatever the price is when they purchase this, based on however many users have purchased or said they're going to purchase when at the time that they purchased. And then that could be $100, it could be 80, it could be 90, it could be 70. And then once this timer runs out, then we'll go in and capture whatever the current price is at the end after the time has actually ran up. And that could be the 100, it could be 90, it could be 80, it could be 70. It could be the same that we pre-authorized, or it could be a lesser amount that we pre-authorized. We'll actually just do the capture, and then everybody will get notification that they paid. So it's a very Groupon-like thing, except for obviously you don't have to pay 50% to Groupon whatsoever. You don't have to pay any to Groupon. So,
Well, I mean, this is really cool because it would also help that it go viral. I mean, do a card in there where they have to share and say, hey, share this on your social media, which is free, right? Organic reach, in order to lower the price. So now you got everybody that joined that, entered the contest. They win, an instant win offer of, hey, a 2-for-1 wine tasting at this price, and the price lowers depending on how many people you share this with and how many people buy. I like it. I like it a lot. Cool. Very cool.
Yeah, this is actually a feature that was built for one of the users. So we've got a bunch of different softwares that we built that are subscription-based softwares that everybody in training, I've given you guys access to them. It's like $500 worth of software that you can get independently. We give you access to them for like $25 or $47. Depends on the training session that I make the offer to you at, or if you get it from the bot or not. But part of what we do as a company is, if you are a user of the software and there's features that you would like, we just typically, if they seem like good features, we go in and build them in. And this was a user request. So, but we could do that, yes, in this software. We could do it also even with PayPal. We could do that. So
let me ask you another question. So once they buy, how would we deliver? So once they buy an invoicing you, or once it goes through, would we be able to create a card that that sends out to them that basically, that voucher, so that everybody gets a voucher that they can show on their phone when they go to the winery.
Yeah.
That's a one-off, so that, obviously you can't copy it and have somebody else use it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
So we could generate a voucher with a code, right? So we could generate a
Right.
voucher with a unique code whenever somebody purchases. So we can Invoicing You has its own Zapier integration, so we can send back information to ManyChat once a user's actually paid. We can get that and send it back to ManyChat. So since Invoicing You uses Stripe, we can also go in with Stripe and tie right into Stripe because they have their own Zap. And then if we're using PayPal and not Invoicing You, we can also do it through PayPal as well. So whether we use PayPal or Invoicing You, we can accomplish that same concept. So it's
Perfect. And
fine
then
that you tell them that.
give them a Google sheet that updates whether it's used or not, that they can hold on to.
Correct.
Sweet. Sweet. Well, thanks, man. That
No,
answers.
no problem.
Perfect.
And Mauricio, I see that you said talking about coupon codes. How do we send unique coupon codes to customers? Could you do the opposite where the first 10 get 25 off, next number a smaller discount, and so on and so on? No. I mean, you could, but I'd have to change some. I, yeah, actually you could. So actually you could do that because of the way this works. You could go in and change this and say, hey, these guys are going to get 10. These guys are going to get 25. These guys are going to get 15. So yeah, you could totally reverse that up if you wanted to. So yes, you can do that. And coupon codes are pretty straightforward to generate. So there's a video already in the bot, I believe, on how you can send unique coupon codes, one-time use codes to a particular user. So that's pretty straightforward. To do, and how it works is something like this. Let me see if I can just actually find the spreadsheet. Let me see if I can just actually find the spreadsheet where it's already built. I don't think it's on this account. I think it's on this other account right here is where I believe it's at. So if I can find it, let me just find it real quick. There's email validation codes. That's coupons right there. Maybe that's it. So let's take a look at that and see if that's it. Yep, this looks like it. So this is it right here. Here's just a spreadsheet that has our one-time use coupons. All right, and you can see the status. 0 means the coupon has not been used. 1 means the coupon has been used. And you can see based on if it's a 1, we've got some data. We've got the date that they actually redeemed the coupon. We got the user who's redeemed the coupon, and we also have their ManyChat ID so that we can connect back with them. So we just have all our different coupon codes. We got what the discount rate is, how much money they're going to save, what percentage discount did they get. So basically every time a new user asks for a coupon, then what we do is we just go out to this Google spreadsheet and we find a coupon who has a status of 0. So we're like, hey, give me a coupon that has a status of 0. And then we return this coupon back to the user. And then we go right back to this row and we change this from a 0 to a 1. And then we add in the redemption date, whatever date the user claimed the coupon. Then we pop in the user's name and we pop in his ManyChat ID as well, so that if we want to now go in and add even more information to this spreadsheet, like we could go in, because we could hide all this stuff if we want to, if we're going to allow our client to use this spreadsheet, right? That's one of the cool things that we can do with bots, is we can build a lot of this stuff ourselves. For example, when we build our bots out, we can use our Zapier account, we can use our Google spreadsheets, and make everything work for the client. And then now that client must give us a residual fee. Now, how do you know that client is going to pay you a residual fee? Because if they don't fucking pay that residual fee, well, guess what? Their bot doesn't work anymore. They don't have access to the spreadsheet anymore. All those zaps that you built for them, you don't have to delete them. You can just go in and turn them off. Now, guess what? That client's going to be now calling you saying, hey, my bot's not working anymore. And you can be like, hey, you didn't pay me, buddy. How about pay me? How about pay me what you owe me? Plus, you're going to have to pay me a little bit more money because I got to go in now and do some work and fix your broken bot. And then we'll get the thing up and working again. So anyways, what we could do is we can go in and edit this, because if we wanted to give our client access to this, we can go in and edit this, and we could change this to, instead of this being called redemption date, we could call it like coupon acquire date, or got coupon on, or issued date, and then have a redemption date when the user actually uses the thing. And then we could just go in and have a value that says, use coupon. And now whenever the user comes to our actual store, we can see this coupon ID. We can look up that coupon ID, automatically know that customer's name in case, he's right in front of us. I already know his name, so I can reference his name. Then I can just go and find that row. Like I find this guy, he's come into my store, so I could just find him. And over here, I would have something that he used a coupon, and I would just set it equal to true, or something like that. And then now, since I have his ManyChat ID, now just on the fact that he used my coupon, I can send him back out a message in the bot saying, hey, thanks for coming to my store. Thanks for using the coupon. Would you like to leave a feedback? If he says yes, then here's a software that we built right here. This is software that we built, and this is a pretty expensive software. So we charged a lot of money. We charged almost $200,000 to build this software. Really, really simple concept. What it does reputation management. So it kind of works where everybody in your facility, they have like a little link on their phone, and they can just click that link. Like your workers, let's say your servers and stuff, or anybody who's a customer facing employee, they can just go to a customer and they can say, hey, could you please give us some feedback? What's your phone number? They can click that link. They can put their phone number in and basically send out a text message to that user that says, hey, thanks for visiting our store. Please give us your feedback. The user mashes some link that's in the text message, and they basically go to a page. They go to a page like this that just says, hey, did you have a positive experience? Yes or no. If they say yes, then they're given something that says, okay, go leave us a positive review on Facebook or Google or Yelp or on some publicly visible social site, because it's going to be a positive review. We want it public because we want to get credit for that. And we want everybody who looks us up on the internet to be like, hey, these guys are 5 stars. They're awesome. If he says no, and he's like, well, no, I think you guys suck. Well, then instead of sending them to Facebook or Google, we just funnel them into our own application to collect the feedback. So these guys charge a lot of money for this. If you try to go find their pricing, this is how you know if a service is expensive. So if you want to know how expensive a service is, just look at the pricing. And if they don't give you the pricing, if they don't tell you what shit's going to cost you, then most likely it's going to be expensive, because they're just going to get on the phone with you, try to sell to you, and then try to get the most money that they can. So that's what these guys do. They charge that. I think the lowest they charge is like $500 a month to use their platform. But essentially, we could do this exact same thing with the bot. So that's the only reason I'm telling you that, is because we could go in and edit this, give our client access to this, and then whenever somebody comes in and they use that coupon, we look up that coupon. The user comes in, and our employee comes in and they update this, that yes, this guy has used this coupon. He redeemed it, and he redeemed it on this date, whatever today is. Let's say 1/13/18. So this user did come in and redeem this coupon. So now I know this coupon was issued. It was issued on the 2nd. It was issued to Amar. And he has redeemed it, and he just now redeemed it on the 13th, or in this case, he redeemed it on the 12th. Now I can set up a Zapier integration so that as soon as I update this value that he's used that coupon, bam, now that user just got a message in Facebook. Thanks for coming, right after he checked out. Thanks for coming. I could even set that on a delay, like a 5-minute delay, so that after he presents this coupon at checkout, I can take it, I can update this. Now, after he's out of my store, then he can get sent automatically our feedback flow. Let's say I send him a feedback flow and I do the same concept that I just explained to you, where inside the bot, I just send him a flow that says, hey, thanks for visiting our store. Glad you got to use your discount. Did you have a positive experience? Yes or no? He says yes, and then I just say, great. Would you want to give us a feedback on Facebook or Google? Want to leave a review on us? It really helps out. A lot of times a user will do that if you remind them to do that. If you don't remind them, they're not really thinking so much about it. So if you put it in front of their face, especially right after they had a positive interaction, they'll go in and they'll leave you that positive review. Trust me. Your users, your potential users, when they Google you or when they look you up on Facebook, they want to see that you have reviews. If you have positive reviews, it's going to make them more likely to want to transact with you. So now after he uses this, we just funnel him out that feedback. We say, hey, do you want to leave us some feedback? Did you have a good interaction? He matches yes. We say, great. Leave us a feedback on Facebook, on Google, on Yelp, etc. He says no. Then we just collect the feedback right into the bot. We can ask him, how many stars would you rate us out of 5? And he could say 0 or 1 or 2. And then we could go in and get some more information. Well, what was your experience like? What did you not like? Who served you? Who did you interact? Did you tell something to the manager? How was things dealt with? Would you like to talk to a person? Would you like a customer service representative to speak to you? We could do all that good stuff and basically re-engage with that unhappy customer and not have him. And if we do that, what you'll see if we do that, then if we take that approach, not only will we get more 5-star reviews in a visible manner, we'll also get less negative reviews, because why is a user giving us a negative review? Because he had a bad experience and he doesn't feel like there's any mechanism for him to resolve that bad experience outside of leaving a negative review on Facebook or Google, etc. If we proactively seek the review from him and we ask him, hey, how was your experience? And he says it was fucking awesome. Then if we say, hey, leave us a review that says these guys are fucking awesome on Google or Facebook, he's more likely to do that. If he says, hey, it wasn't good, then before he thinks about going out and leaving that negative review, he already sees that we're proactively trying to see how his experience was. And when he tells us it wasn't good and our bot starts engaging with him and says, okay, tell me more about it. Who served you? Did you try to complain? What would make this better? What would make you want to come back and try us again? Well, guess what? He gets resolved. He's not going to go leave a negative feedback on Google or Facebook. He's going to be much less likely. So all helps us in the end. So yes, we can do coupons, Mauricio. It's something really just like this. So I'm not going to go through exactly how to build it on this, because as you can see, it's already been built, and this is just one of them. I could probably find like 2 or 3 other spreadsheets, because I've built this several times for people on all of the pre-training sessions. So they are in the pre-training sessions where we built all this. So please give a session about how to deal with clients and how to set up mini chat so they can't fiddle with flows like limited access, etc. Unfortunately, I can give you a session on how to deal with clients. In my opinion, that's really easy. How to deal with clients: be professional and treat clients like your children. So be professional. Make sure you have good clients. If you do a good job actually weeding out your clients and only pick good clients, then you don't really need a session on how to deal with clients, because there's not much that you have to do if you have good clients. So how to deal with bad clients: get rid of them, get a new client. That's how I deal with bad clients. If I have a bad client, then I just get rid of them. So, but how to set up mini chat so they can't fiddle with flows like limited access, that's just not possible. So you just can't do that. You're not able to give somebody a limited access. You can create the mini chat account yourself, and you can invite another admin and allow another admin to come in, but that admin is going to have the same privileges that you have. You're not able to give him any type of limited access. So just don't give him access to mini chat. That's my ideal. Just don't give him access to mini chat, because you want to get that monthly retainer. And you want to get a high monthly retainer, and for that you want some service charge. You want to give them with that retainer, hey, look, you get 2 new promotional flows every month, or you get 1 promotional flow a week, something like that. So you want to go in and build those out for them. So just don't give them access to ManyChat if you don't want them to fiddle with stuff. So if you guys have any other questions, you can drop your questions in the box if you have any other questions. If not, it looked like a lot of you guys wanted just to go, since our guest speaker didn't show up, you wanted just to talk about outsourcing. So that we can do. To do that, I'm just going to go to this Facebook page real quick. And I'll give you a little bit more information about me. So give you a little bit more information about me, who I am, what I do, so that you can understand about outsourcing. So I'm just going to show you this picture right here as an intro. Who I am, this is me right here, this white guy among all these brown people right there. That is me. This one right here, that's me. This is our 1st year anniversary. This is our 2nd year anniversary. So a little bit about me. I'm just a unknown genius. So I'm a really smart guy. I'm a logical engineer. So I'm a computer programmer. So I went to college for computer engineering. The reason I went to college for computer engineering is I used to work in manufacturing. So I used to essentially be a button pusher at a factory. So I started out pushing buttons at a factory, and after pushing buttons for a couple weeks, the people that were in charge of me, they realized that this dude's really a smart guy, and he's really mechanically inclined. So they moved me from being a button pusher to a setup guy, which means I would go to each of the machines. The machines in particular were they were creating all sorts of parts for, let's say, engines in cars. So parts that would go in your transmission, or parts that would go in your actual motor block, or parts that would go in other mechanical pieces in your car, not like the frames and stuff like that, but things for like the transmission and the engine or other mechanical parts. So I would go to different machines like grinders, hobs. A hob is a machine that is used to turn gears, to actually make gears, or lathes, or drill presses, or mills. I would go to those machines and actually set them up so that they could run a process, that they could take a particular raw part, like a raw casting, or a raw casting that had been ran through several other machines, and I would set that machine up to do the particular process that needed to be done, because you would take some raw casting and run it through several machines. Each machine would perform a specific function, and then at the end of those specific functions, you would have a sub-assembly, or you'd have a sub part that would be used to send to another line to put those parts together to make one actual component of a transmission or of an engine. So got promoted to a line leader. After being a setup guy for a while, I got promoted to a line leader, and then my job was not only to set up the machines, but to actually schedule the workflow and to train the button pushers that would be operating those machines. So did that for a while, and then they opened up a position in the tool room as a machinist. So I applied for that, got that job. This was all within the course of 6 months that all this happened. Got that job. They sent me to a vocational school where I got to learn how to be a journeyman machinist. So basically now my job was, whenever any machine in the factory broke, they would get on the walkie-talkie and they'd be like, yo, John, this shit's not working. Could you come over here? So I'd go over there. I'd check out the machine. I'd figure out basically what was wrong with that machine. So if it was an electrical part, I'd go to a little service, this is like a little store inside the factory, and I would tell them, hey, this part is broken. Could you give me a new one of these parts? They'd give it to me, and I'd go fix the machine. If it was a mechanical part, I would kind of do the same thing. I would go to a different little area, and I would look in an inventory to see if we had any extra of those mechanical parts. If we did, I'd take it, I'd go fix the machine, and I'd update a little sheet because I need to make another one of those parts when I'm not fixing something. If we didn't have one, well, then what I would do is I'd pull a blueprint for that mechanical part, and I'd go to some shelf that had a bunch of steel sitting on it, and I'd grab a piece of steel, and then I would take it through process of a bunch of different machines, and according to that blueprint, I would create that part. When it was created, I'd go fix the machine. So now in this process, I started using CNC machines. So a CNC machine is like all of those different machines all built into one machine ran by a computer. So really, really cool thing. So if you don't know what a CNC machine is, then I'll show you a picture of them. They're really awesome. I used to use Mazak and Akumas. So this is a CNC machine, as you can imagine. I've worked on machines like this. I've worked on machines like this. I've worked up to 9-axis CNC machines. So these things are really cool. So what this is like all those different machines, your hob, your drill press, your mill, your grinder, your lathe, all of that in one machine. And it's ran by a computer. So basically, I started using these things and started programming G code. I started actually writing code, and I really, really fell in love with that. So I went to college to become a computer engineer and learn how to program. So got a job for a local programming company, worked there for a while, took a new job, became a project manager, which is where the outsourcing begins. So outsourcing, hopefully you know what outsourcing is. Outsourcing is just whenever you have something to do and you don't want to do it. So you are supposed to be doing something, you don't really want to do it, so you tell somebody else to do that shit for you and you take the credit for it. So that's all outsourcing is. So whenever you go to a restaurant, essentially you're outsourcing your meal creation. Every time you go to a restaurant, you want to eat some food, but you don't want to make some food. So you go to a restaurant and you outsource that whole meal creation process. So essentially that's all outsourcing is asking somebody else to do your shit. So I worked for a company called Smashing Boxes, and my job there was a project manager. We were building web applications. So as a software engineer, I graduated and got a promotion to a project manager. And my job was to lead a team of 70 developers. So I didn't lead all 70 developers. I led their leaders. So each developer had its own team leader, and then those teams would be assigned to projects that were coming in. So I would manage an array of projects. So essentially, all of those 70 developers were under my command or one of 3 other people's command. So we had 4 project managers at the company, and we were all managing different projects. So obviously, I was the best one and the smartest one. So at some point, my company grabbed me and they said, "Hey, look, John, we got an opportunity for you." So it's like, "Great, what's that opportunity? I've been getting opportunities my whole life. I really like to take advantage of them." So they were like, "Look, we're sending you to a different country." So they're basically like, "Look, we're going to send you to India. You're going to stay over in India for 18 months. We're going to pay you some extra money. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to IndiaSoft. You're going to build relationships with all these development firms. You're going to find all your own development firms. You're going to come up with some matrix to gauge these development firms and come up with some process to engage and pre-qualify these guys for a test project. Our end goal is to outsource our overflow or unwanted work to these guys. Because a lot of times what would happen at that company is we'd have some client, and that client would come in with, by the time we took real big projects there. So by the time you spoke with me when I worked at Smashing Boxes, if someone had given me your name, what they would do is they would give me your name and a little packet of information called a project brief. So that would just kind of give some information about you, about the overall of your project, and everything that's actually been discussed with you, and any information that's been able to be collected within 2 hours. So our company would have these project onboarding people that would talk to incoming clients, and they would collect a little bit of information about what they want to build. They would ask me, how much information do you have? Do you have any designs? Do you have anything on paper? They would gather all that, and they would have a little bit of dialogue about, more or less what that person's budget is, how much they're able to spend, what they're wanting to build. And they would give me a 1 or 2 page document from our company, plus attachments if the client had any documents that they created on their own. A lot of times in software projects, the clients are mostly companies that want stuff built, and they will have had some documentation or some processes that are documented that they'll give us. So by the time that packet of information has got to my desk, we've only invested as a company 2 hours talking to that client. And now they've paid a $30,000 retainer to be able to talk to somebody like me, for somebody like me to be able to now go in and read that packet of information and then begin to talk to them about their project and get a team together and go in and actually start planning out and give them an accurate estimate of what it's going to cost to build that project. By the time I need to reach out to that client and do that, like I said, we've invested 2 hours and that client has now paid a $30,000 non-refundable deposit just to be able to speak with me and have me go in and figure out what we're going to build and start coming up with a rough estimate and timeline for the delivery. Now, if he wants to move forward, then he starts into the actual payment terms for us to build this project. Now, keep in mind that I'm working in a development company that's sitting in the East Coast in North Carolina. So we've got at the company like 110 staff at that company. 70 of them are actual engineers. So not fucking cheap software, because it's in the East Coast, where, I mean, it's in North Carolina, not the most expensive place in the world, but definitely more expensive than middle America, someplace like Illinois or Idaho, something like that. So that's why the numbers are so big, because it's a U.S. firm. So now what happens is this guy comes in, he's got a $250,000 or $500,000 project that we're planning, we're running. On top of that, he's got some $1,000, some $2,000 work that needs to be done. He's got an existing WordPress site or something. He wants some custom edits. Well, we don't do that. I mean, that company did not do that. They did not like doing that type of work. So what their goal was to be able to outsource that type of work to another company overseas and be able and not have to turn those clients down. So now they tell me, look, John, that's what you're going to India for. We're going to send you over to India for 18 months. It's your job to identify companies that we can work with and send our overflow work. So that's what they're telling me. They want to send all their additional work that they can't manage, which was understandable, because in the US, when I was a developer, when I first started as a developer, I started out at $70,000 a year when I first started. By the time I finished my career as a developer, I was making somewhere around $107,000 a year by the time I actually finished my career as a developer. Once I became a project manager, got much more expensive. But so, mid-range average, $95,000 a year, is a mid-range average developer. If you want a good developer with experience in the United States, it's going to be $90K a year. Now, that is the salary cost for that developer. That is what the salary of that developer costs. Now, if you live in the US, or if you live in a westernized country that has fucking laws and regulations and protections in the labor force, then you know that is not your cost to employ that resource. You got to pay the dude a salary. Well, on top of that, you got to allocate some overhead to that guy as well, because he's got to have some management, right? He's got to have some building to sit in, some chair to sit in, some equipment to use, right? So you got to give some overhead cost to that guy as well. That's going to be, in most companies, that's going to be 2 to 7% of his salary is most likely going to be what the overhead cost is, just for the facilities overhead, as far as giving him an office to work in, paying electricity, internet for him, and providing the managerial oversight for him, having some hierarchy of higher people that don't participate in what that resource does, but are kind of responsible for him. So you want to allocate some of their costs to that person. All right. So now we're taking that 90,000 and we're multiplying it by, let's say, 1.07 to allow for that overhead. Now, on top of that, I got to pay a bunch of other shit for this guy. I got to give him some insurance. I got to give him some vacation. I got to give him some 401k. Because if I don't give him this shit, he's not going to work at my company. Trust me. He's not going to work for me. He's going to work for those guys over there that are giving him. So I got to pay unemployment tax on him. I got to pay Social Security tax on him. I got to invest in his 401k. I got to provide a medical, vision, dental, life insurance, vacations, all this shit. So now by the time I get done providing all this shit for him, now his costs go from 90,000 equals 1 to being about 1.5, 1.6. So the dude goes from 90,000 to $130,000, $140,000 a year, really, really quick. So dude's expensive, right? Which is why it costs so much to develop stuff in the United States, because dudes are expensive. Now, this dude's costing me $140,000 a year. So what does that mean? If I'm a company and the dude costs me $140,000 a year, if you ask me to do something that's going to take a year of his time, well, I'm going to tell you, you got to pay me fucking at least 200% of his cost. So now you're paying me $280,000 to buy him for a year in the US, because I'm a business, I want to profit. So apparently they realized this and they were like, look, John, you got to go overseas. Now, on top of this, I can't just hire this guy for 20 hours, right? As a company, I can't just hire a resource for 20 hours. When I hire somebody, those dudes are expecting a full-time job. They're not expecting, look, I'm going to work for you for 20 hours and then we're done. That's not how employment works, especially not in the United States. If you don't believe me, start a company in the United States and then go offer somebody a job, and then 20 hours later say, hey, you're done, you don't work here anymore, and find out what fucking happens to you. You can't do that. You could maybe pull that off in right to work states, but even in right to work states, somebody is going to hit you with a lawsuit, because that shit's not allowed. You can't hire people like that. Now, you can go to an agency, a temp agency, and you can hire resources like that, but you're not going to find many software engineers that are working for a temp agency, because those are skilled labor. Those types of labors work for companies. So my company can't go in and hire a new engineer for 20 hours worth of work, or even for 60 hours worth of work, even for 3 months worth of work, because they have a risk involved. After 3 months, is my sales team going to be able to do enough sales to keep this guy busy? So now they want to outsource, right? So now they're telling me, hey, John, you're going to India. You're going to stay over there for 18 months. And what you're going to do is you're going to find all these companies. You're going to introduce yourself. You're going to introduce our company. You're going to come up with some matrix and some process to interview these guys and find out what companies are the best companies for us to start sending work to, so that we can take this overflow work, or we could take these additional jobs that we don't really want to do, that our clients are trying to offer us. Our clients are already saying, hey, do you do WordPress stuff? We need this WordPress stuff done. Or you do this stuff? We need this stuff done. And we're not interested in it because it doesn't have a high enough margin. So my company is just saying, hey, the company that, not my company now, the company that I worked for then when all this is beginning, they're saying, no, we don't do this. So they're just turning money away. So they want to send me overseas to find companies that will do this for them, and they can still make some money. So there I go. I get on an airplane. I land in Delhi, India. At IndiaSoft, I meet about 70 companies there, but about 35 of them I engage in. And go through my process. And then from Delhi, I went to Kolkata, because through my research, that was one of the biggest markets for engineers, and also one of the most cost-effective areas in all of the world, let alone India. So landed there, and what I did is I went through this process of sending out an email to these companies, and then doing a phone call, and then doing a Skype chat, and then doing a live interview, like a live session at their company. That live session would be an 8-hour session that I would go to their company. During the weekday, I would do 5 a week, and I would spend the entire day at their company talking to their CEO, to their managing directors, to their HR, to their project managers, to their account managers, to their developers. I'd find out their entire infrastructure. I'd find out history about the company, who founded it, how it was founded, what their mission statement was, what their financials were, what their hiring process was, what their retention rate, what their turnover is, all that good stuff, what their project execution capacity was. I'd figure out all this stuff. I'd look at their code. I'd look at their previous projects, look at their code, understand their DevOps process. How do they actually build stuff? Are they really fucking engineers? Are they really like dudes that actually know how to develop? Can they keep up with me? Are they smart? Are they not smart? Could I give this dude some work to do, just like I would my team of developers that I managed for Smashing Boxes back in the US, that were doing our projects already? Could I give them work in the same fashion and have the same level of confidence that they could do the stuff for me? Essentially, that's what I did as a project manager. was outsourced. As a project manager, what I did is a client would come to me, they would give me a job, they would explain to me, and I would outsource it to one of the development teams that work for our company. Now, it's not traditionally outsourcing, but it's the same concept because we all work for the same company. So traditionally, it won't be considered outsourcing. But from my perspective, that's what I'm doing, outsourcing. I'm the project manager. Some clients giving me a whole bunch of work that needs to be done, and I'm just not doing it. I'm outsourcing it to other developers that are going to do it, and I'm managing them. So I'm supposed to measure, can I do it the same for these guys? Can these guys over in India, can I deliver work to them and get it done in the same fashion? So identified several different companies, started them off with a test project, and then developed a whole communication mechanism and developed a whole communication channel for the delivery of work and the workflow process and the return of work back to us. So I set up this whole process and this whole channel for our company in the US to interact with these companies that I identified in India, to give them work, deliver tasks, have those tasks get done, the flow and the process in which those tasks would get done, the matrix in which those tasks would be gauged for quality internally from that company that we're outsourcing to, and then for those tasks to be given back to us and delivered back to us, and the intake process on finished tasks. So I developed the process for that company for them to outsource the task, for them to ship the task. First, I identified all the companies that we could outsource to. Then I developed the process for us to send work from us to them. I developed the process for them to do the work, actually finish the work and test it, engage it themselves, and verify that it's done according to our standards, and send us back the work. And then I developed the process for us to take that finished work and verify that we could forward that on to our client and say, congratulations, we did this shit, because that's essentially what we did. So then we started doing that. So stayed over there for, it was about the first 9-10 months that it took me to go through and actually find the companies, interact with the companies, develop the processes, start them off on test projects, execute the first 2 test projects, because we did 2 test projects, not with every company. We did at least 1 test project with every company, and the ones that successfully executed that test project, we did another test project, and if that was successful, then we considered them a company that we could send X amount of work to based on their project execution capacity. So if they had successfully executed 2 projects, then essentially now they're on our payroll and we're outsourcing to them. So it took me about 10 months to do all that, and then for the next 7 or 8 months I stayed over there, lived over there, and just basically managed that engagement to make sure that engagement was smooth until that was all polished off. Then I came back to the U.S. Now, when I came back to the U.S., shortly after coming back to the U.S., all those developers at our company, not all of them, but more than 50% of them lost their jobs. Because I had now already identified 8 companies in India, each of them having 50 to 70 developers working for them. So I essentially just found us 100, 150 developers easily that are much, much less. That guy in the U.S., like I said, on average, that dude's costing me $140,000, $150,000 a year to employ. This dude in India, he's costing me $20,000 a year to employ. So essentially I can get 7 of him for 1 of that other guy. So, and the only thing I really lose, the only thing I really lose quality wise is I lose a little bit of communication skills and I lose a little bit of dev process, both of which I can train. And even I developed the training mechanisms to do that for those guys, both of which I can train in the course of 3 to 6 months. I can train to make up that inefficiency. Now I'm getting 7 of those guys for the cost of 1. So now even I know, let's say, dude, worst case scenario is 20% efficient as my counterpart in the US. Well, guess what? I'm still net positive 40% because I'm getting 7 of those dudes for the cost of 1. They're 20% efficient. I mean, which means they're nothing compared to my US counterpart, But since I get 7 of them for the price of one, I really get 140% efficiency. So I got a net 40% extra efficiency at the same exact cost. So now whenever I multiply that by the fact that I got 70 developers, right? Well, that's 7 times 4. That's 28. So that's 280, almost triple the production that I can do for the exact same cost. Now, revenue for a software firm is a function of production hours, obviously. Profit is a function of revenue minus cost, right? And in a development firm, revenue is a function of how many fucking developer hours can you work, because everything in the development world is based on how many hours from that engineer is it going to take to do all this shit. So if I can go in for the exact same cost, I mean, who wouldn't buy that? If I can go in and just walk into any business and say, hey, you want to make 2.8 times more money? You want to make 280% more? You want to, for nothing? Yeah, sure. Who's not on board? Who's not on board with that? So that's how my journey of outsourcing began. So let's kind of check the time, see what time it is. It's 3, so we got an hour still. So now fast forward to after I quit my job. This is where we're at today. This is our 2-year anniversary, all of which was done by outsourcing, this outsourcing concept. So now I insourced to my own company, but how did I actually create this company that here you're seeing 1 year, 2 years. So this 2-year-old company, how did I create that? Completely on the outsourcing concept. So I quit my job. My company in the US, they got rid of most of the developers because I replaced them with companies in India, essentially, unknowingly. No big deal. So now they fire most of those people. So I quit my job and I start freelancing on a site very similar to this site right here. So the site that I was working on no longer exists because it was bought by this company right here, Upwork. So this is a freelancing job portal. So if you want to work online and you don't want to have a traditional 9-to-5, which I was fed up with my 9-to-5. So if you don't want to have a 9-to-5, then you can work on some site like this. You can be a freelancer, and that's what I decided to do, is to be a freelancer. So you can see that I'm top rated. I'm one of the top rated Upworkers because I'm a genius. I got a 96% job success rate. You can go in and actually take a look at all the different feedbacks. So basically what I do here is I find jobs, I get jobs, I outsource those jobs, keep them on Upwork long enough to get their price up to a number like 16,000 or 12,000, 13,000, 10,000, just to get them to a big number. I need to have kind of bigger numbers to buy trust in other people, so that whenever new potential clients see me, they can look at my feedback and they can say, oh, well, this dude gave him $17,000 and he was really happy. So I'm thinking about giving him $5,000 or $10,000. I'm going to be really happy. Or I'm thinking about giving him $30,000, and it should be a wise investment because I can see I can trust him with that much money. So that's all I've done here is I've got jobs, managed those jobs long enough on Upwork to get a large amount of money or a good enough amount of money when needed. And then as soon as possible, move them outside of Upwork because Upwork charges a fee. So when I first started freelancing, didn't have any profile like this. I just had to start. So I quit my job basically without any plan at all. Quit my job, Googled working remote, working online, remote software developer jobs, stuff like that, and started finding all these sites, just like this site right here. Started setting up profiles on those sites, and basically on this site, all you do, and you can find jobs in so many different fields. So you can find jobs in so many different fields. So you can see that you've got web, mobile, software development, IT and networking, data science and analytics, engineering and architecture, design and creative, writing, translation, legal, admin support, customer service, sales and marketing, accounting, and counseling. So pretty much whatever you do outside of selling a physical product, you can find the jobs right on here. You can find other people who like the ideal of outsourcing, because outsourcing, one, can be very cost effective. Two, can be very production effective, because even if it's not cost effective, even if you can't save any money by outsourcing, you can extend your ability to produce things. You can widen the pool of talent that you're able to select from. Because if you have a physical company, then you limit yourself to the people who live close to the physical company. So everybody has, everybody has this little radius at which they're willing to commute to go to their job. So the only places they can work fall within a circle that is defined by pi r squared, right? It's defined by that radius moving around. So wherever your company is, if you average out that radius that people have, their maximum willingness to commute, you can see that this little intersection right here, this circle, is the talent pool that you're limiting yourself to. Now, if you want to offer a higher salary package, maybe you can get people outside of that circle who are willing to relocate. If not, then you have to offer a remote position. You either have to offer a remote position, or you limit yourself to that local area, right? So if you want to find the best talent, I guarantee you the best talent does not live within radius of your company. You are not so lucky that you created some company and it's like in the center of where all the best talent is. The best talent is literally scattered all over the fucking world. That's where the best talent's at. So if you don't outsource, or at least you don't hire remote workers and offer remote positions, well, then you're really limiting yourself to the talent pool and I mean, essentially, I know as running a company, my company is only as good as the people that work for it. Now, it's also only as good as I make it, and the work and effort that I myself as its owner and CEO put into running the company. But even if I put all my work and all my effort into it, it's still limited by the resources that I hire, by the people that actually work for me. So I definitely don't want to limit myself to one particular region, most likely. So, Sonny, buddy, I see you got your hand up. What's up, buddy?
Hey John, it's an amazing story. Whenever I hear this, I born in India, so you totally, fly back to India and I'm here. So, but my question was, um, you know, like for example, someone who's like, what would be the best suggestion for someone who's trying to outsource, in the beginning, and uh, you know, uh, like ho- like what would be the one best advice you should give someone like me? I have that background. I live in Bombay. I don't know if you know Bombay. You must know Bombay. I
Yeah,
was
Mumbai.
born there. Yeah, I was born in Mumbai, and I speak 10 different dialects in India, and obviously, that is my plan to, because I just finished my degree and all of that, and I just found you luckily. So, what would the one best advice you can give me, like someone like me who's trying to do the same thing, outsource, like uh, how to start, like what should I do? Like the one best advice I should do that.
Yeah, sure. So there's several different components that are moving back and forth whenever you're outsourcing. All right. So your easiest route, well, I would say your easiest route is just to hire me and to hire my company if you're doing DevOps. So let's say you're not doing development. All right. So you can outsource any type of work. In order to do that successfully, well, one, you first have to have the work, right? The work needs to be there. So to start off, the most successful thing that you can outsource is the shit that you yourself can do, right? Whatever you already can do. All right. So your easiest point of entry is outsourcing things that you can do yourself. Okay. Because if you can do the thing yourself, well, then you're the capable person that can interview people and hire people, right? Now, let's say me. Let's say I want to outsource copywriting. Well, I don't know jack shit about copywriting. So if I wanted, which is why at my company, we only have developers. I don't have marketers at my company. I don't have designers at my company. I don't have copywriters at my company. I don't have SEO guys at my company. Why? Because I'm not an expert at that shit and I can't really hire those people. So I don't have any way to really gauge, is this a good resource I can gauge this is a good person. Like, is this a smart person? Is it a competent person? But I don't have any really good way to gauge, can they do this job, right? Now, an engineer, a developer, I can easily gauge, can he do this job? Because I myself can do that job. So I can easily understand what type of skill set he has, how good of a resource is he going to be. Now, not anybody, but to be a business person, any business person can successfully, hopefully, gauge those other people traits that you want in an employee, right? You want certain people traits in an employee, like work ethic, punctuality, communication, et cetera, outside the direct traits that are skill related to the job role and function that he's going to fulfill. So those things I can measure, but I can't measure his ability to be a proper copywriter, because I don't know the process of copywriting. Didn't go to school for that. I don't know anything that is related to that. So to try to hire that guy isn't going to work very good for me. So your easiest point of entry is to figure out what you're really, really good at and what things you can do on your own, and you can start outsourcing that work. So the first thing that you got to do is you got to find the dude that you're going to outsource to. You got to find the person that you're going to give work to. So you got two options there. One option, you go with a freelancer, you go with an individual person. Second option, you go with a company, you hire a company. They provide the individual person. Now, ups and downs, pros and cons with each option. Freelancer option, what's the pro? Typically costs a lot less money. So the freelancer typically going to cost you less than what the company is going to cost you. That's the biggest pro. The other pro for freelancers, there's a lot more of them out there. There's a whole lot more freelancers than there are companies. All right. So those are kind of the only pros of going with a freelancer. Is just the and also, I guess, the dependency. If you hire the freelancer, he's going to essentially become more dependent on you than a company would be. So a little bit of a benefit there. What are the cons? Well, the cons is the guy's unmanaged. All right. So most likely, dude runs into financial problems. He may not pay his internet bill. He's not going to be able to work for you. Dude's computer crashes. He's not going to be able to work for you. Dude doesn't have a boss other than you. So he doesn't have an actual job, right? He's a lot less reliable than what a company is. He's constantly, even if you pay him a high rate, he's still going to be looking for even a higher rate. He's either going to be looking for a higher rate or the same or lower rate for easier job, an easier to manage client, or more benefits. All right. So he's more likely to not be your worker anymore and go be somebody else's worker. So overall, he's much more risky than going with the company. He does cost less money though. Obviously, he costs most of the time. He's going to cost less money, and there's more available to choose from. But like I said, he's riskier because he has a different mindset. He's not wanting the traditional 9-to-5 job anyways. If he wanted that shit, he'd be working for somebody, right? A freelancer or an engineer that's not working for a company, he's freelancing. He has a lot more entrepreneurial spirit. He's out there because he has to find his own clients now. He has to find his own clients. And most jobs as freelancers, most of the jobs are not long-term positions. They're short-term projects, and they're not long-term positions. So he's going to be constantly doing that. So he's a little risky there because he doesn't want a traditional 9-to-5, or he'd be working one. He doesn't have any management over top of him to give any management as far as what is he actually doing, right? Now, plus, if he's in a different country as well, if you hire an offshore freelancer, if he's not in the same country as you, well, now you also are really constrained in any type of, let's say you sign an NDA with the dude, or a non-compete with the dude, or an intellectual property contract with the dude. Well, let's say in your instance, you're living in the U.S. and your freelancer's living in India, and you sign some non-compete, you sign some NDA, you sign some intellectual property agreement with him, you pay him to build website A for you, he gets done building website A, delivers you website A, and then he takes website A and fucking creates website B, which is the exact same thing as A. It just has different colors and a lower price. And then besides that, he logs back into your server and crashes website A. So your website A doesn't work and his website B works, and essentially is now your competition. And you're like, great, fuck you. I'm going to sue you because we got this IP contract and we got this non-compete and we got this NDA. And then he comes back and he's like, fuck you, I'm in India, so try to sue me. Guess what? You can't sue me because you're in America, and how the fuck can you sue me? We're in different countries. So now you have to like literally get in this legal battle, which you'll never fucking win. It's just is going to be impossible because it's international business. So you have that other risk there as well, right? So but that's one option. One option is to hire the freelancer. You can get a much higher profit margin. And if you work hard enough and you treat your freelancer good enough, right, and you pay him enough and you search hard enough and you are indeed expert enough in the same skill set that you're hiring him for and could perform the same skill set better than him, then you're much likely to you have a much higher percentage to find a good resource, right? To find that good guy. And if you pay him more than, I don't want to say more, I don't want to say more than what he's worth, because I don't think you can really put a worth on people, but we can say if you pay him more than what the local market demands, right? If you pay him more than the local market worth, it's a substantial part. And most of the time, if you're going offshore, even you pay the dude 50% more than the local market, you're still only paying 30% of what you're going to pay in your fucking own local market, right? So you're still getting a net 70 discount. He's getting a net 50 surplus. So who's not happy? Everybody's happy in that. So if you pay him well and treat him well, then most likely you can keep them in a long-term engagement. But you still always have that risk. Even when before I started my company, before I started this company, I first outsourced to freelancers. Okay, that was my first entry point. I first outsourced to freelancers. And that kind of worked okay. You know, I had a couple good freelancers, but then I also noticed what happened is, now the reason I was able to notice it is because I'm an expert in this field and I can do all this stuff myself. But I noticed what was happening is, like, I had this one freelancer named Priyanka. She's a WordPress developer, right? So I'd give her actual WordPress builds. She would go in and build custom themes. She'd go in and build the WordPress plugins. She didn't do the button clicking and stuff. She was actually an actual developer. So I started working with her, and the relationship was great for like 2 months. And she tells me after 2 months, you know, hey, I can't work as much as I usually do, because she was working 50 hours a week. I can't work as much. Would you like me to have one of my friends that I work with? Would you like me to have them help? So I was like, yeah, sure. Let's have them help as well. I'll pay them a little bit less than you. You just manage them, and that will work fine. So brought in another person under Priyanka. And what I started noticing is that I would get higher invoices, right? I would get billed for more work, but just gradually as time went down, I could easily tell that the actual work was being done. Every week that passed was a lesser percentage than what was actually being billed for. Now, at the same time, I didn't care so much, because the bill that I'm getting is still really freaking cheap, right? It's still really cheap because I'm just paying these people like $4 an hour or something like that. I'm paying them like $4, $4.75, maybe $5 an hour, something like that. So they work a full week. It's costing me some $200. Even if they're only doing 30 hours worth of work, I'm still making a huge profit on it, because I'm charging $25, $30. you can see what I charge, and I charge different prices based on the client themselves, how long uh, we're actually going to work together, and what my role is actually going to be. So I charge anywhere from $25 to $50 an hour. All right. So if I'm paying this dude $5 an hour and I'm billing $50 an hour for it, well, guess what? If it takes you up to 5 hours to do what I would consider to be 1 hour worth of work, I'm still making 100% markup. I'm still making $25 an hour for fucking doing nothing. So it doesn't really bother me that much. It bothers me a little bit. But I started noticing this happening. I started noticing that as time progressed, and I noticed this with all my freelancers, every freelancer that I had. I had another freelancer named Biplop that actually lived in the same area that my company's in, and I ended up hiring him in this office. I ended up firing all my freelancers and then opening up this office and then rehiring him because he lived close enough where he lived like outside of Kolkata, but he lived close enough where he could come and get like a little PG, like a room, and stay here Monday through Friday and work at our company, and then go back to his little village area where him and his wife lived. So I noticed this with every one of my freelancers. Now, I hired freelancers right from Upwork, the same platform that I was getting the jobs on. Literally what I would do, for example, when I was focusing on WordPress, I would go in and I would say, hey, find some work. And I know all the things that I can do, right? Now, if you can do marketing, you can probably find all sorts of different marketing jobs. I probably can't see them because I'm not subscribed to any of those categories. I'm only subscribed to categories that I work in, which is software development. That's the only categories that I care about. But I can see that there's 3,000 jobs: content marketing, need a sales expert and or lead generator for tech startup, creative director for fast-growing software visualization company, influencers, et cetera, et cetera. So let's say I want to find WordPress. These are people who want to hire only a person in the United States. So these guys are only going to consider hiring somebody in the United States. So these are great fucking candidates for me for what I'm going to do. This guy wants a WordPress expert. Well, guess what? I'm a WordPress expert. So I could go in and apply for this job, apply for this job, apply for this job, apply for this job, apply for this job. You can see there's a lot of WordPress jobs all being posted an hour, 2 hours ago. Now, if I go in and change this to US only, I'm going to get even more jobs. I'm going to get a lot more jobs 9 minutes ago, 13 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, from all different countries. Now, I would always target just these United States people because it seems like, to me, it always seemed like they were the easiest to manage clients for their budget. So UK clients, to me, I dealt with a lot of UK clients, and UK clients seem to me to be cheaper, always wanting to pay on the cheaper rate, and always harder to please with their expectations. Australian clients, the same. UK clients were typically cheaper in what they wanted to pay, although you could get a higher budget out of them, but they were just much more higher maintenance clients, meaning much more complaining clients, always complaining about something most of the time, no matter what you do. The Australian clients that I noticed, they were cheaper as well in what they could actually afford, easier to please than the UK clients, but cheaper in what they could actually afford. Those oil guys, those UAE guys, those Saudi Arabia guys, those UAE guys that are rich, that do have money, those guys were as well, for the most part, willing to spend lesser money and just harder to please people. The U.S. people, though, on the other hand, they're like the perfect client. Most of them a lot easier to please, a lot more laid back, a lot more open-minded, and they just naturally have higher budgets. So that's only people that I target. So I would just go in like this, find all these United States people, skip the Sri Lanka guy, and maybe some of these Australia guys I would go in. And then I would just literally go in here to the same thing that I've been using for such a long time. Something just like this. This I use for Laravel, not WordPress. I got one for WordPress. I just don't haven't used it in a while because I haven't focused on WordPress jobs for a long time, because one of my clients has literally bought all my WordPress developers for the foreseeable future. So I haven't hired any new ones because I don't really like WordPress that much, and I don't target those jobs. And since the ones that I have right now are already booked, then I don't look for any. But I know I got another one here. I just need to figure out where it's at. Admin, documents, proposals. Right there. Maybe I don't have one. There should be one there. But there is also a WordPress one. Probably not in here because I haven't used it in a long time. This one is for Twillos. But I would literally just go in here and I would hit copy, and then I just paste it in here. That's how I get all my jobs. I just copy and paste a proposal in there. Now I can do that pretty simply because of my portfolio. If you're just starting out, then you want to be more specific, and we can talk about that, and we can talk about that in a minute. So
What were your most challenges when you moved to India? Like, did you have any communication problems, or
oh
like
yeah.
how you settled yourself? Like, I'm really I'm really impressed that the way you living over there. It's amazing. Like, how did you settle yourself in that environment?
Well, to be quite honest, I met a girl. So uh, I had met a girl, and she was working for one of the companies that I initially identified. She was working as one of the starting partners, one of the companies that I actually identified for my previous company. She was working there. I met her and actually kind of started a non-business relationship with her. So started talking to her outside, the fact that, hey, I'm engaging with your company to start working for my other company, because honestly, I thought she was really beautiful. So she's really beautiful, really smart. So obviously, started talking to her. And then whenever I moved back, so basically what happened was, I quit my job. I started freelancing. That led me to outsourcing. Like I said, I started outsourcing to individual freelancers. Then I didn't have any, I wasn't net satisfied with that because of what I saw happening over time. So then I started hiring companies and kind of saw the same thing happening. And then one of my clients had a much larger contract. He was spending between $12,000 to $22,000 a month on development, and he had been doing this for 2 months already, and was supposed to be doing it for the next 3 or 4 months until his platform was developed. So we were working with a company. So I just told him, hey, look, when we first started, I was missing that girl. So I told him when we first started sending work openly, because it wasn't actually, our relationship wasn't transparent at the beginning. At the beginning, he thought I was doing all his work, and in the background, I was outsourcing to it. And then once he got to a point where he wanted to do more than I could physically tell him I'm doing on my own, he started needing, 200 hours a week worth of development. Well, there's no way I can provide that to him. So at that point, I became transparent and said, hey, let's hire some people from a different country at a cheaper rate. I'll manage them. I've got experience with them based on my last job. He said, yeah. And I said, well, you know what? They're going to be in India. So why don't you just buy me a plane ticket, and I'll just move over there while the project's running, and I'll physically go to the company every day and manage the developers. And within an hour, he had bought me a plane ticket, and I was packing my bags and going back to India. And then I came over here, and like I said, I already knew that girl, so I leveraged that girl. I offered her a position. I can't really say I offered her a position. Okay, I did kind of offer her a position, which was not like a job. So I offered her a position in a relationship, which also ended up, it was like a job / relationship. So I don't know how that sounds. So anyways, we were already in love. So we kind of had already fell in love with each other. And plus I needed a partner. So it was like a really, really perfect match. So I moved over here, and then, we were already in a long distance relationship with each other. We had already been in a long distance relationship with each other. So that guy, Dwayne, allowed me, he basically facilitated me, paid for the plane ticket, moved back over here. And I was, with her. We were already, she's my wife now, but she was my girlfriend at the time. So she helped me a lot, obviously. So knowing somebody locally, having a trust point locally, and that's just all relationship building. So having some person locally that I trusted that could really help me. That's how I was able to actually settle over to really get settled over here. Now I had lived over here before that. So before that, I had lived over here, and and even before I met her, how I settled was I was used to being in a foreign country. I grew up in a foreign country. When my company sent me over here, I requested to bring somebody with me. I requested an additional budget to bring one of my friends, and one of my friends that I went to college with, I just paid him a pseudo salary since my company paid for all my housing and fooding. Then I got them to approve an additional budget. It didn't cost any extra in housing, a little extra in fooding to have my friend come with me. And he was like a travel geek. And plus I gave him an additional salary for spending money, which my company approved. And I just had a friend over here. So having a friend, having someone to share the experience with you, it helps you. And just having an open mind. Obviously it's real different over here. It's like a whole different universe or planet or galaxy over here.
And it's amazing, like I can tell the one best thing about you is you're a very resourceful person. So by having, utilizing all the resources, that's really impressive. And really like your story, man. Thank you for sharing. It's
Yeah, no
amazing.
problem. So your other option outside the freelancer is the company. So your other option is you can hire a company. Those guys are obviously more expensive. The companies are always going to be more expensive. So that's the biggest con with them, is they're more expensive. They're more reliable, obviously, than a freelancer. So that's a pro. They are more reliable. They're more reliable in lots of different ways, because if your employee comes sick, if your freelancer gets sick, he's not going to work the day. If your company gets sick, well, companies don't get sick. Roles at companies get sick. So the company's still going to be there. And the company will either find somebody else to do the work that day, or they'll at least inform you, hey, we can't do this because dude's sick. A lot of times your freelancer won't even tell you he's sick until he's not sick anymore. Once he comes back, he'll be like, well, sorry, I was gone for the last 2 days. I was sick. Because he doesn't have the mentality that he's working for a company, because he's not working for a company. He's freelancing. So he just has a different philosophy and mentality. So the companies are better. They're more expensive, but you have a lot of certain assurities that you can assume, right? Now you can assume that they've already vetted the resource, right? Because they're paying that resource a salary. You can assume they've already vetted that resource. And let's say you're not good at doing something, and you're not qualified to take the interview to find the freelancer. Well, if you hire the company, well, you can assume that hopefully they are good at that thing, and they're qualified to take the interview, and they've already interviewed and identified all the good resources in their area, and they've hired those people. So you get a higher talent. Hopefully most of the time you get a layer of management, that if that freelancer's computer dies, well, the company has a way to fix that and to continue. They have processes to fix that computer, or, do all the shortcomings that you get with a freelancer. Now you still have the same issue if they're outside of the country that you're in. Well, then you still have the same legal issue and everything. So those are the two options you have: a freelancer or a company. If you're really, really good at what you do and you can find and interview the candidates yourself, well, then your more profitable option is to hire a company. So that's your more profitable option, your more profitable option is to hire a freelancer if you're capable of doing all the interviews yourself. So if you're capable of doing that and really finding the talent, well, then your better option is to just go ahead and hire a freelancer. If you want some more security, then hire the company. So the company is still going to cost you. If you're hiring outside of your country, then most of the time you're going to still cost less. Unless obviously if you're in India and you're hiring outside of India to the US, well, at that point it's not going to cost you less. It's going to cost you more. So you probably wouldn't want to do that. But most of the time, if you're outsourcing, part of your goal is to make a profit. So what I did is I just did interviews. I would come in here, I would find jobs, and then literally as soon as I found jobs, and literally kind of what I did at first is I would come in here, I would find this job right here. All right, here's this job, the same job. Let's say this job here. I would find this job. I would take this right here, and then I would come right back here. And I would post a new job. And I would post this job right back to the freelancing site. Now, when I post this job back to the freelancing site, and sorry, no, Reese, next training session we'll be talking about bots. This training session was for our guest speaker and he didn't show up, so we elected for me to be the guest speaker and talk about outsourcing. So next session we will talk about bots, and specifically either going to talk about payments or Facebook ads in the next section. So I would go back in and I would just repaste this job right here and have the same people who are going to apply to this job apply to my job, give me the proposal that they're going to use, give me the prices that they're going to use. That way now when I submit my proposal, well, I already know what my competitors are going to charge. I already know what they're quoting. If they've went through and read this proposal and spent some time and resources getting some more information to win this proposal, like I know this, I know that, or we could do this, we could do that. I already have that information. So now I can, when I give my proposal, I can aggregate everybody else's proposal. I can make sure that I give the price that's not too low and it's not too high based on everybody else. I can get all the information from everybody else, inject that into my proposal. And when the client reads my proposal, he's going to be like, well, one, the dude's from the US and he's a white guy. I mean, honestly, that is a great benefit that I have. So, because that's a big trust builder with European countries. So, one, they get that initially. Two, they're like, wow, dude has great feedback. Dude's top rated. Then they see my price and they're like, wow, well, the dude, he's not the cheapest guy. He's not the most expensive guy. So I like that. And then they read my proposal and they're like, wow, his proposal said everything else that everybody else's proposal said. And also by Reese, and also more. So most of the time they just hire me. So now once they hire me and offer the job, well, guess what? Now I already got a list of people who have applied for the exact same job and were confident that they could do the job. So now I just start interviewing. I find one, I know what the dude's paying me. I know the proposed rates of the people who are wanting to do the job. So I end up hiring one and get some money from the client, tell that dude to start working. And then I just manage the process and I eat the money in between. Dude's paying me $50 an hour. That dude over there is working for $7 an hour. So I'm going to make $43 an hour to do absolutely nothing for every hour that dude works. Plus, if I got to work, I'm going to bill that time as well. So if it takes me 10 hours to manage everything with the client, I'm going to bill 10 hours at the $50 rate. And if the dude worked for 40 hours, then I'm going to build an additional 40 hours. So I'm going to build a total of 50 hours. 10 hours, I get the entire amount, and 40 hours, I get $47 out of the 50 or $43 out of the 50 because I got to pay dude $7. Dude's happy. He's getting paid. This dude is happy because he's getting his work done perceivably by me. So he's already perceiving it with a much higher quality anyways. I'm happy because I'm making money and not really doing anything. So that's how that works. And I did that for quite some time, hired freelancers and made lots of money. Hired companies, still made lots of money. The missing thing for me was the headache, right? So for me, hiring companies, hiring freelancers was too much of a headache in managing the freelancers. It was too much of a headache in managing the companies. I had my downfall with managing both aspects. So at some point, I just said, fuck the freelancers, fuck the companies. I'm just going to start my own company, train people exactly how I want them trained, force them to work exactly how I want them to work, have my own leadership that works for my company. And so now essentially I still outsource. I've got a company in the US and I've got a company in India, and the company in India, they're under contract from the company in the US to do all their work. So now from the US company, I've taken work and then I outsource it to the Indian company and make a pretty decent profit margin in between. Now I still live over here, because most of the workers are over here and because that girl's over here too. And who doesn't like girls, right? So
When you gonna bring her here?
probably never. So there's no real reason to be in the US for me. So all the work that I
Just for fun, I want you to be guys my guest. Come here in Texas whenever you are here. But I'm coming, India in June or maybe May. So I'll definitely come visit you guys.
okay, cool.
Yeah, love to meet with them, and it's nice story. It's amazing. I'm very very impressed with that.
Thank you. Well,
And
outsourcing.
thank you for sharing that stuff, man. It's cost literally $1 million stuff. What you are sharing right now.
What's really valuable, I mean, if you need more time, there's only one way that you can get more time. That's it. The only way you can get more time is to hire people to do stuff for you. You can't just manufacture time. It's impossible. So I'm not going to say it's impossible, because even I don't understand quantum physics and time theory deep enough to know if we could actually manufacture it, because it is a dimensional plane. So not going to get into that on this chat, because that would probably bore most of you guys. So we'll just leave it at, you can't manufacture time. So if you want to pseudo manufacture time and you want to get more time, you have to hire people to do work for you. Essentially, that is outsourcing, right? Now, it's very profitable if you don't hire people in your local market. If you hire people from a local market that is considerably less costly than your local market. So to do that, most of the time, you have to go to a different country. You could do it. I mean, like if you're in East LA, then you could hire a developer from Indianapolis, Indiana, and receive a net discount. Not a huge net discount, maybe 12% or something you're going to save if you hire that guy. But if you go a little bit farther than Indianapolis, Indiana, and you go to India, then now you're going to get a huge net benefit. Now, if you hire a freelancer, so we talked about that before, and let's just verify that. We said 90,000 was an average, and you can just verify that. What is the average U.S. software salary? 91,000. Not that asking Google a question and getting an answer is verification. All right. But we could go look at the actual data behind this, and we'll just take Google's word for it. 91,000. They're saying a software developer's average salary is 104,000. So we're going to go with the 90,000 because that seems like it's a good rate. And then, like I said, we're going to multiply that by 7% inflation to do some general administrative overhead stuff like facilities, giving the dude coffee, providing the dude water, having them flush your toilets, having to have somebody clean the toilets. So now for most people, we probably want to add an additional 10% for the management team directly above them. All right. So not the facilities overhead, the administrative overhead, the other people whose salaries you have to pay to directly manage this guy. That dude that's cleaning the bathroom, well, that dude's not administrative overhead. That dude's facility overhead. The administrative overhead is this dude's team leader, the dude's supervisor, the CEO of the company. So that brings that guy up to there. Now you also, because you're in the U.S., we could probably account for that to say that's social, and this is probably a really low figure to account for Social Security, to account for Medicaid, to account for workers' comp, to account for medical insurance, health insurance, life insurance. That's probably
It's 20%. 20%.
20% for what?
Whatever the you are for 105 for 105,000, add 20% on that
For
for
what?
paying taxes and insurance and for everything.
That's everything, 20%? I think that's a low figure. I think that 20% is a really low figure. If you're talking about you're contributing into his 401k, you're paying SSI on them, you're paying unemployment on them, you're paying medical, dental. I think 20% is a little low, but we'll go with 20%. That makes him $127,000 a year. All right? So now that dude's $127,000 a year. Let's say a realistic example. Let's just take my most experienced guy. All right. That's my most experienced guy's salary. Now, this guy is in charge. This guy's an engineer, and this guy is actually in charge of managing everybody at my company, all the projects. Now, he is an engineer as well, but he plays a much higher role, and his salary is inflated for that higher role of responsibilities, okay? He is not out there developing anymore. Although he is a very expert engineer, he's not out there developing anymore because he's leading all the developers. He has essentially the same role that I had whenever I was first sent over to India. So we'll take that guy. Let's do the same inflation times 0.07 times 1.1 times 1.2 divided by 63. This is his monthly salary times 12. So that guy is 21,522. So divide that by 127,116. That guy is 16% the cost, 17% the cost as his U.S. counterpart. So essentially, I hire 5.5 of these guys, 5.2 of these guys for the same cost that it cost me for one in the U.S. Do the exact same amount of work, so that means I'm 5 times the profit. So just makes a lot more sense. Makes a lot more sense when you outsource overseas. So to do that successfully, though, you need to make sure that, one, you're either a master of the job that you're outsourcing, or you have a trusted partner, you have a trusted friend, someone that you trust and rely on that is a master in that thing that can help you vet the resources. Now, once you vet the resource and watch him work, I mean, you want to pre-vet the resource before you hand him off and let him start doing your client shit. Because if he's not vetted and he does a bad job, you're going to lose a client, right? So you want to vet him. Now, once you vet him and you get a good resource, then you're golden. You can start dumping work off to him and make sure that the work's happy, the client's happy, and just continue that process, and you're golden. So you definitely want to either have that subject knowledge, that expertise, or have that trusted partner, because that freelancer or that company, you don't want to be dependent on them, especially if you hire a freelancer. You don't want that freelancer interviewing other freelancers, because that freelancer most of the time is always going to have the perception that you're going to replace me, that you're trying to get me to find a replacement. So everybody that you interview is either going to suck, or you're going to have some dude that sucks is told to you that's really good, so that you can hire that person. And then if you hire that person, because the freelancer is going to assume, well, you're not just going to fire me, you're going to hire this other person, and then we're going to work together for some time. Then you're going to fire me and replace me with this other person. So I'm going to give you a sucky person. And after we work together for some time, you'll see that they're no so good. And then you'll fire them and keep me and maybe try to replace me again. Because freelancers, that's the type of mentality that they're going to have. So you don't want that dude in charge of hiring new people for you. You want to either
And
do that
that's
yourself or have a trusted friend.
and that's a part of a culture too. So I born and raised on that culture. So you sure right on that. That kind of perception gets into the mind because of the culture.
Yeah, so it's all stuff that I faced before, and you definitely don't want to do it again. But you can get started really easy if you're good at something. Um, you don't have to use a job site like Upwork to find jobs. You can just query your local market. A lot of you guys maybe already know some business owners that may need some marketing, or they may need some development, or they need some graphic design, uh, where you can go in and broker a deal with them, broker a contract with them, and then talk to somebody else. You can use a site like Upwork to find the talent. Even Upwork's a great site because I think this is, if I look at my client site, even Upwork's a great site because you can go in and you can just find freelancers. And whenever you find freelancers, you get like a whole social profile of them. You can see, hey, this dude has an 83% job success rate. This dude has an 81 job success rate. They're $7 to $15 an hour. They have an 85 job success rate. This guy's $12 an hour. He's from Pakistan. He's got a 95% job success rate, and he's earned $5K. This guy looks good. He's a .NET architect. He's $20 an hour, 90K earned, 100% job success rate. All right. So this guy could be somebody that you actually hire. So you go in and look at him.
John, I have a question. Are they real or are they manipulated? What do you think?
Are what real?
Those reviews or those 100% job successes and all the information up there, because I found sometimes there are people who manipulating, like changing their efforts to change their ratings and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I would say this one's real. I mean, like, look at this one. This guy got a five-star review on a $59,000 project. So he did a $59,000 project. He was employed over a year at this place. So he worked for 2,836 hours at this place for $20 an hour, $59,000. I really fucking doubt this one's manipulated at all. So now, if you look and you were to see things like this, a lot of things like this, where most of his feedbacks are really, really low value feedbacks, well, then that could be something that's manipulated, because you can manipulate stuff like this. You can go in and let's say I've got this account. I can go in and create another account, and I can literally give myself a job. I can literally hire myself, pay myself, leave myself a great review. And I can even have my friends do that. And even if I were to teach you about freelancing, which I'm going to make a class on freelancing, one of the things that I would recommend and I would teach you to do, which could be considered unethical, but I don't really care because it fucking works and it's going to be what really helps you succeed, would be social engineer your profile. Go to your friends and family or people that you know, and have them post jobs and pay you to do low value jobs and leave a review or be your pseudo client for a referral. Because when you're first starting out, people are going to ask you for those things. They're going to go in and look at your profile. If you don't have any feedback, most of the time they're not going to hire you. They're going to hire somebody else, because there's an enormous amount of talent. There's an enormous amount of resources all applying for the same job. If you have a little amount of feedback, they're going to ask you for other client references. So you better just have those in hand and get some of your buddies who can do that for you until you have the real clientele. So you can do that. Like I said, some people would not consider that honest or ethical. So if you're one of those people, by all means, don't do that shit. Do everything completely organically. But if you go that route, which is the better route, but it will take longer. So what I see happen is I see a lot of people who start out and they don't want to do that shorter route of social engineering. They want to do the longer route because they want everything to be legitimate. They don't want fake reviews. They want real reviews. They don't want fake referrals. They want real referrals, but they don't have any reviews in hand. They don't have any referrals in hand. So they're just going to wait. Now, it's going to take a lot longer to get those first ones. You're going to have to do a lot more. You're going to have to provide a lot more value to get those. And a lot of people give up because they don't want to wait, because they're just not hard workers and they can't they can't put in the work, so they just give up. So if you think you're one of those people, and you should know whether you're one of those people, if you've started lots of stuff and not finished lots of stuff because you started it and after a month you realize that you're not making any progress, so you want to start something else, well then, if you're one of those people, you should be realizing you're one of those people. I'm not going to say anything wrong with that. Take the shorter route, social engineer the thing, have a couple of your friends create Upwork accounts, give you jobs, leave you some feedback, social engineer yourself some 10, 15,000, at least $1,000 or $2,000 worth of feedback that you're going to pay 20% on. So you're going to have to pay 20% because Upwork's going to keep a cut. It's going to take you a little bit of money, but it's going to help you make money much, much faster. All right. So your quickest route is to go in and find something that you're really good at, and then find jobs. You can either use a site just like this to find jobs, and then find talent. So this person's $7 an hour. So, $11 an hour, and you could just keep looking and looking. And this is all I did. You could either search for freelancers. You can come in and filter and say, hey, I don't want freelancers. I want only agency freelancers, which means you're going to only get companies. So these are just only companies. So this freelancer, if you hire this freelancer, you're essentially hiring their company. So this is how I built my entire company. So my entire company was starting on outsourcing, on the outsourcing model. And it still only exists because of outsourcing, because now our biggest clients are software firms, and they outsource their work to me, and I just have my developers do it. So most of my clients are other software firms. Now I do take clients who aren't software firms and I do their work, but essentially they're doing the same thing. Anytime you hire a company to do something, like I said with the restaurant example, you go to a restaurant, you just outsourced your food creation. So you just outsourced dinner. When you go sit down at Chili's, you're outsourcing dinner to them, right? So everything that I do operates on outsourcing. I make a good amount of money doing it. I do it all by myself. I started this company all by myself. Now, obviously, I did get help. Every employee that I hired has helped me along the way. It wouldn't exist if it wasn't for outsourcing. And it's something that's easy to do, whether you want to use it as a business model to make money or you want to use it just to save money. So if you're thinking about hiring a developer, or if you're thinking about hiring some company to do something, before you just query your local market, definitely query your local market and get their ideals and get their thoughts and get their price points. But query your remote market as well. And go through the same process that you would with these guys from some platform like this as you would with your local market. And odds are you can find the same amount of good talent that are able to do. And if you filter wisely and choose properly, you'll save a bunch of money. And if you save a bunch of money, that opens you up to being able to make a bunch of money. But that's pretty much it. That's the end of this session. So we kind of talked about a couple different things on the session. Our next session is going to be, I think at 5. Let's just double check. I think it's at 5. Yep. So our next session is going to be in about 1 hour from now. And what are we going to cover? Well, we got several things on our list still. So we've got auto posting on our list. We've got customer segmentation on our list. We've got email and phone validation on our list. We've got payments through the bot. We've got custom fields versus tags. We've got Facebook ads. We've got lead scoring and broadcasting. We've got all that left still on our agenda to do. So we're going to do one of those things. We'll either probably do Facebook ads or payments or email and phone validation. So a couple of those things, we could probably get through a couple of those things. But that's what we'll do in our next session. So I'll send you guys out a notification. Don't forget to come in here to this guy right here and click this link right here. So don't forget to click this link. If you click this link, and comment on that post, we'll give you a free gift, but that's what will give you credit for coming to this training session. Colin, if you just want to message me on Facebook, then I can talk to you about the payment plans for hiring one of my developers. So you just message me and we can talk about what it is that you're trying to do, what type of developer you actually need and what you're trying to build, and then we can go from there. It looks like you just want a bot developer. So that's all I got for this one. I will see you guys on the next one. Don't forget to click that link and then come to this post, wherever this post is at. It's somewhere, but come to that post and comment on that post to get your free gift and get credit for this. And other than that, I will see you guys at 5.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.